My name is Brough Perkins. I'm a medium, and I've been giving psychic readings for 20 years. My mission is to demystify the mystical and educate the public that we do not die, and life is about growth. This is ARC, the Afterlife Research Center. Well, today I'm having a very good friend of mine, Tim Schultz, who is the young man who won the lottery, $26 million at 21 years old. And when he and I first got in touch, I swear I wasn't a third or fourth or even fifth cousin. I was more interested in him because of his unique paranormal experiences. Of course, he dreamt that he won the lottery and that made him play it, and then he won. This interview will be a little different from the last. We're talking about the documentary he made called Chasing the Shadows, where he actually does ghost hunting. And I have a few goodies up my sleeve for you if you ever wanted to listen to what the dead sound like and hear them the way I do. So welcome back, Tim. Thank you, my longtime buddy.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for having me, bro. Yeah, when I was 21, I was working at a gas station and just trying to pay the bills and put myself through college, and purchased a ticket and really believed that I was going to win. So I was very confident that I'd win, but for whatever reason, I crumpled it up in my pocket and went about my day, but I kept telling people I was going to win. And sure enough, it won. And so it definitely changed my life. I mean, I've never been really into material possessions anyway, because I don't believe that they bring happiness. I think that's something that's within our society that people, it's a lie that is fed. You have a fancy car, you have this, you have that. Oh, look, they're so happy. I mean, it's in our pop culture, and I think it's dangerous to feed into that. And I think that's one reason why a lot of lottery winners go broke, quite honestly. I mean, there's a few reasons, but that's one of them, because you just go out and buy all these things. But I found that those things don't bring happiness, because the happiness comes with maybe sharing. I mean, it does in the sense where maybe you could share it with somebody, an experience. So you have this really cool car or whatever, and you can share it with someone, or you can go on a vacation and with someone, you're sharing this experience. But if you just have this possession on its own, that's probably not going to make you very happy, unless in most circumstances anyway.
One thing with you was they were doing these covering stories of people who went and had lavish lives, and you were very conservative with how you got a very nice house for someone your age, and you put yourself through film school. And was it journalism or film school specifically?
I studied film and then transferred over to journalism and broadcast news. So both.
Yeah. So, and that's what really struck me with you, because of your paranormal story, because you were the only one on the show who had won the lottery based on a dream that you had and inspired you could say. And then the other thing is you've always had a fascination with paranormal stuff. And I had to write you, and I was like, my first sentence was, "Don't worry, I'm not a cousin."
That's right. Yeah.
This was right before you started your project Chasing the Shadows, which is your feature documentary, which was an excellent film done way back when. I think did it come out in 2008?
2009. Yes, is when the official release. We may have played a festival, a few festivals in 2008, but
you and I had been in touch, I think, since something like 2003 or 4 or something like that.
Yeah, I believe so.
So I was there for the formation. I was actually consulting you and helping you with direction on the film as well, behind the scenes, as a paranormal expert and a researcher myself. So this is what I wanted to talk to you about today, because Chasing the Shadows, it's a little bit of your Van Gogh piece, because I keep seeing that it's going to come to the surface and be one of the things on your roster that you're well known for eventually. Because you're already creating this sort of media thing now behind the scenes, which we'll talk about after. But so you went on this journey as a documentary filmmaker to sort out exactly what the heck the paranormal is, where it is, and how to find it, and learn everything you can about it from a total, I don't want to say a skeptic, but more of an agnostic point of view. Is that a fair approximation?
Yeah, I would say that's fair. I just wanted to see, I've always been fascinated by ghosts and haunted houses and that sort of thing. And so and I had had some experiences that I couldn't explain throughout my life. And so I really just found it very fascinating. I wanted to know what was real and what wasn't. And so I decided to make a film about ghosts, and it started out as more of a haunted Colorado type of film. And we went all over the state of Colorado, to the Stanley Hotel. It's probably the most famous one that most people have heard of, an inspiration to Stephen King's The Shining. But we went all over the state, and then eventually it expanded to going to haunted places across the country. And then we went to Europe, and then we sent a crew to Benin, Africa, the birthplace of voodoo. And so it really expanded. But it started out, the origins of it, I was really interested in ghosts and what is real and what is not. And I was really, surprised actually that, and this is how naive I was, but I went into these haunted houses, and the majority of the time, nothing would happen. It's not like they just come popping out of the woodwork the moment you walk in there for most places. And so I found that was really interesting.
That's a really, really good point. And I think I even said this to you and covered this with you on our last interview, which would have been more in the bonus material, which was that people come into the paranormal. And like, even the other day, someone said just randomly to me on the street, it's like, well, if you're psychic, then tell me something about myself. And it's like, well, that's like asking a surgeon to perform an appendectomy on you on a sidewalk without the OR, without the nurses, without the anesthesia. There's processes involved in this. Like, it's this weird thing where people assume that the paranormal can just be conjured up like that. And it's like, actually, there are things in this world, like we knew about atoms long before, like over 100 years before we had the electron microscope where we could finally see an atom. So it was only a theory, and we couldn't see atoms until very recently, actually.
Yeah. No, that's very true. And it's subtle energy. One of the people that I interviewed many people for the film, and one of them was a quantum physicist. Claude Swanson was his name, and other people as well. That, and I learned about subtle energy, which is very interesting. How, it's easier for a ghost to manipulate, maybe a smell or a light, electronics, these subtle things that can happen rather than just popping out like they do in Ghostbusters, or having a head turn around in The Exorcist and puking on you. I haven't seen that happen.
No, I've never seen that happen either. That's the other thing. People always, it's a sensational, but that's Hollywood, of course. And
yeah.
So, but, going back to the subtle energy thing, Dean Radin, who was my first guest right before you on ARC here, he does experiments with MIT, or he did, and he was testing people's intentions and thoughts affecting random number generators. And what he found was that, these generators should go 50-50. But if people were to focus intention on a positive number, more often than it should, it would go to positive numbers, or vice versa to the negative. And there's a few other ways that they've experimented with this intentionality as well. And what Dr. Radin pointed out was that mind can have an effect on the material world, but it's a very small and cumulative effect, it seems. And I think that ties into the subtle energy, which could just be another form of energy we haven't learned to detect. We just don't have the equipment for it. I mean, how long did we go before we had radios? We never had radio technology until recently, but radio waves existed forever. But we only recently detected them and learned to start using them. And I think, what do you think anyway about the idea that the paranormal is just really future science?
Oh, I absolutely believe that. They don't understand most of it. They don't understand. I mean, we don't even know what's in all of our oceans. So even here on this planet, so we don't know hardly anything about space. There's just so much that we don't know. We used to think the world was flat, Yeah, there's so much that we don't understand about it that is unexplainable. And I've had so many experiences that I can't rationally explain with our current science. And so, I don't know.
That's a good point then.
It's interesting. Yeah, absolutely.
So, but having said that, you did capture some things on your adventure, didn't you? And I'd like to go into a little bit of that, because we actually are going to end up playing a true EVP. So first of all, why don't you talk a little bit about what you had experienced in terms of when evidence started to present itself to you on these adventures, and then we'll get to the EVP after.
Sure. So, so this was a 5-year production, and we shot, I believe, around 500 hours of footage, and we just put the best of the best in the film. But throughout the whole journey, I had quite a few things that did happen. In one case, I had my hair tugged. This wasn't in the film, but that was pretty astonishing to me that something like that could even happen. I saw when we were editing the film, we had doors open and close on their own. And I got into a very heated argument. Well, I wouldn't call it an argument, but a heated discussion with my editor about the creative direction of the film. And we disagreed, and we were standing probably 3 or 4 feet from each other. And then we just heard this clap, like right between us. And we both stopped immediately and stopped, it was like, get it together, guys. And that was just not, and he's a skeptic. I don't know how he explains that, but I mean, it shut us up pretty quick, and then we got back to work. But that, and where we edited was actually in the Peabody Mansion in Denver, which is also the reason we did that, is because we had some experiences there. When we shot an investigation there initially, there was a woman who appeared to be like overcome by spirit, perhaps possessed, and she had to be taken out of there. And that was really interesting. And actually, I shot there once with Ghost Adventures with Zach there. So it's quite a place. But throughout the filming for 5 years, we did have, some experiences. We're at the Belvedere Theater. I gave you some EVPs, a couple from there.
Yes, we're going to play those. And before we do, why don't you explain to my audience what an EVP stands for and what it is and what's the theory behind it?
So electronic voice phenomena, it's basically at least how, so I was following a team of investigators, and the device they were using is called a Frank's box. That's what they called it. But the EVP itself, basically, at least how they were doing it, they were using radio waves, or like white noise, basically. And the majority of the time, actually, there was nothing that, was like definitely a ghost. But every once in a while, or if you're in the right location and it like heats up to an extent, not literally heats up, but we had some things come through that it was while it was scanning, it wasn't on a station. And then it was as if a spirit would manipulate that noise into a coherent sound. And it's a very unique sound. And I'm sure that the skeptics out there will claim, or do claim, that it's just radio signals. In my opinion, probably 99% of it was, or just plain white noise. But every once in a while, there's a coherent sound that comes out of the white noise. It kind of manipulates it like over the white noise, and I just can't. And it's just hard to explain. We shot an investigation in the Lumber Baron Inn in Denver as the site of an unsolved double homicide. And we were with John Zaffis on that one. And he's the nephew of Ed and Lorraine Warren from the Amityville house. And
Haunting in Connecticut, which is one of my favorite cases.
He's been doing this type of thing all his life. And, but when we were using the Frank's box there, it came on and it was very distinct, and it said, it was like this young woman was murdered there, and it said, cocaine, and it just, the hairs on the back of my neck stood up, and it was just, it was one of those times. But the ones and that's in the film, but the one I supplied to you, one of them is from the Belvedere Theater, which is the oldest theater west of the Mississippi. And it was from I believe, late 1890s, but it used to be a brothel, and it's a very interesting old place. But it at the time we were filming anyway, it needed a couple million in restoration. So it was closed to the public, but we had access, and we went in there with with the Frank's box, and they did an investigation, and but it was really, really interesting. And some of the EVPs a couple that I supplied you are from that theater.
Wonderful. Okay, so we'll go ahead and listen to, I think this one's the Pop Weasel one.
Okay.
All right, so that's really interesting because you can clearly hear it say Pop Weasel.
Yeah, and I've never been called a pop weasel, but I don't think that goes. It's like I think it was meant in a derogatory way, and maybe.
So that's not an expression that's even around. I've never heard that before this. And so you first of all, this theater is really old originally, so we have to assume that if this is a ghost, it's from another time entirely.
Yeah. Well, so one that I didn't send you is at that same filming, it said my name, said Tim, and then I got a little closer and said Timothy, but it was kind of, whispering. That's what it sounded like anyway. And so it was as if someone was trying to communicate.
Okay, but the Pop Weasel. So you had to look up what the heck that even means, that expression.
Yeah, I did. And it originated in England. It was a kind of I think a song, or, I mean, obviously it's a nursery rhyme, but the origin of it is that there were these people, even the poor people in England in the late 1800s, wore suits, I think, to church on Sunday, and then they would have to give up they would sell the suit on Monday, or pawn off their coat, and then get it again by Friday. And so it was like, I don't know why they called it a pop weasel, those people. So I think it was derogatory, but at any rate, it was just, it's one of the funniest things I've ever been called by a spirit.
I've been called some worse things that I can't even say right here through EVP as well. So, okay. The ideas that conjure up with Pop Weasel almost seem to be fake or charlatan. And here you are in the Belvedere Theater doing a ghost investigation, trying to contact the ghost. And in a sense, it's calling you like a wannabe or like a charlatan, right? Pop Weasel.
Yeah, I think so. I don't think that that spirit wanted us there. It just wasn't very nice. And, it did tell me to get out, and there were other people in the room, so I felt okay. But that's one of those times where if I had been by myself, I think I would have been a little bit intimidated.
Oh, definitely.
Just getting into it then, at that point I did have quite a bit of fear of ghosts. And so I thought that, I thought it was more like it is on television and in the movies, as in the evil ghosts are going to get you, and possess you and do all these things. And I'm not saying that those types of the negative things never happen. But I don't think that in the majority of cases that you should just fear ghosts. I think that's something that's taught in our society.
Well, I think it's a lot analogous to any kind of expedition when you go into the jungle and you're looking for a particular kind of spider or snake, and it's rare to find it, and you've got to go to the right locations. And then when you finally do find it, there's always a danger if you don't handle it properly that you could be bitten. But these kinds of things like ghosts and paranormal stuff, it's more subtle, like you're saying. And I think we need to treat it more like a sort of like an archaeological expedition, if anything.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's really interesting. And it is sort of like it's experimenting, and we don't know a whole lot about what happens to people when they die. We just don't in our science. And that's why there are tons of skeptics out there too. And I've not, and just, I assume most of your viewers are believers, but if there are any skeptics out there, I always like to say that I'm not here to try and convince anybody. I have nothing to prove. I'm just sharing what I believe and what I've experienced. And so, but I find it very, very fascinating. And I do think that we're just on the cusp of understanding what that sort of reality is. There's so many things that I've experienced with people that supposedly are dead. And, I just find it, I don't understand how you can possibly communicate, how you can get a message from someone that is dead if they're actually dead, because messages do come through once in a while. I mean, for example, so I had a reading with you once, and within this film, Chasing the Shadows, I lost this is kind of a spoiler alert for people, but I lost a really good friend, and she had committed suicide. And so that was like very tough, and draining emotionally to even have that happen. But so we had a reading, and you, prior to the reading, asked me to envision, I don't know if you said envision or pray, but to focus on something that only she would know, to prove that it's actually her communicating. And so I did that, and basically we shot this video one time in the Belvedere Theater, and there's this shadow that looked like an apparition that went across the screen. And when you paused it and really looked at it, it looked like it was in the shape of an angel. She always loved that clip. And so we always called it Christine's Angel. We were just joking, and we just called it Christine's Angel. And that's something that only she would know. And then when we had the reading, you said you were getting a message that was twofold. You said you were seeing Chris Angel and then a bird flapping its wings. And
oh, he's that magician who's anti-psychic. That's so weird. So he's against psychics, and yet Christine used him at that time to get this really unique thing across. Okay, finish, please. I'm fascinated.
But that was obviously Christine's angel. I mean, it's obviously that was the message. I don't know, so that things like that happen in life. And that's just one example. It doesn't have to just be a psychic reading, but there are things that happen with people that are supposedly dead that, I just don't think that we know a whole lot about what actually happens to people when they die.
That's beautiful. What a wonderful way to wrap up. And I completely forgot that reading happened, because you and I have been friends and we've worked together a little bit, but mostly we're buddies. And thank you for reminding me of that. And I wanted to give my audience a chance to see your film now. They can purchase it online. Is it streamable, or is it something they have to buy the DVD for?
No, it's actually, so, when it came out, it was on DVD, but now times have changed and technology changes, so quickly, but you can actually stream it. If you just go to chasingtheshadows.com, that'll take you to my website, to that page for that film, and you can stream it. I believe it's free, actually. So you might have to click through an ad or something, but you can definitely check it out.
Chasingtheshadows.com. Okay, we've got the link on screen and in the details below. Tim, my friend, thank you again, and thank you for being a friend to the show.
Yeah, absolutely. I love coming back. Thank you so much for having me, bro. It's always great to see you.
My father passed away over a year ago, and then I miss him, and I regret not talking to him. So it's kind of stubbornness on both sides.
Before you got here, I was telling my producer that I have multiple energies, multiple spirit people coming through. I have a non-blood relative that comes through to your side. And when I say to your side, I think they're a contemporary individual, meaning they're in your generation. So that would be like a brother or a husband or a brother-in-law, like it's in that generation. Mm-hmm. I don't feel like he's been gone very long. I almost sense within the year. Is it like, was January close to a year, or July? Like I get a JY for some reason.
Not quite sure why you're getting a January or a JY, but
Maybe because he died last year and January is a different year, but it's still within the year.
Yep.
It's not longer than 12 months.
Yep.
He's knocking me on the head going, get it right, stupid. Like he's flirting with me. I like him. He's playing around with me. He's playing bongos on my head because I've lost my hair, you see. So I'm wearing a hat to look better, but he's going like I'm a coconut. He's having fun with me right now. He's a troublesome character. He's very funny. Oh, he's a spitfire too. He says his unconscious mind, his soul knew he didn't have a long life. And so he's the type that did what the hell he wanted to.
Yep.
Hell with the rest of them. Because I'm here on a mission. Tell my kids I love them. Tell my kids I love them. This is really, I don't know if I can say this. You're emotional and he's smacking you in the arm going, come on. Yeah, suck it up, buttercup. That's the way he is with you. Come on, you hated me in life.
Oh my God.
But he gives you a big kiss on the top of your head. You know I love you. You know I love you. I was just hard to hold. Hot potato. Hot potato. He apologizes to you. He apologizes to you for not taking ownership of his emotional stuff. It's like in the relationship that you had with him. Is this a husband character to you?
Yes.
In the relationship you had with him, you did all the homework for two people. Does that make sense?
100%, yeah.
Okay. Please take this as his acknowledgement that he's learned his lessons now. Because when you have a life review in the spirit form, you experience everyone else's experience of you from their point of view. I'll tell you, it's pretty humbling. And it certainly makes a case why we should treat each other better. Because you guess what? You survive death, meaning you got to live with yourself. You better like your roommate.
Yeah.
And he does see that he was a big heart. And you always saw that about him.
Yeah.
But his past and his family were fraught, a little bit like sandpaper. And in childhood, I think people get better with age, but the point is, he didn't always know how to, let's say, process emotional stuff. And usually that, not all the time, but usually that could equate to a temper, but it could also equate to ignorance. So he sees all of this about it. He's worked through it all. It's all water under the bridge now. But does that make any sense to your experience of him?
Yep.
He's making me feel like the two kids that are yours, he loves them very much and he's with them. Are they opposites like son and daughter? I get a strong son figure for you.
Yes.
Is your son the eldest?
No.
Okay, so he makes me feel like his son is like, takes after him in some way, maybe a spitting image.
Yeah.
But about that's it. Because he makes me feel that his son is a different character. His son gets his character and his intellect from mom, because you're intellectual. But he gets his looks or something from his dad. No, your son has your face though, but he's got his dad's build somehow. And your daughter, I feel very, very connected. He's very protective of her. Mm-hmm. He's like around her all the time. Even though he was hot to hold, she understood him. And I feel like in her eyes, her daddy could do no wrong. But she did punish him when he was feisty. And she takes after him insofar as, and maybe you too, I think this might even be where you and your husband there connect, is that you speak your mind.
Yeah.
It's like, get yourself together there, you're a mess. Like, you guys could say that to people and to each other. But it's always coming from love.
Yes.
It's never coming from a bad place. And so his daughter could call him on his shit.
Absolutely.
And she did. He's revving a motorcycle, so he's riding around on a Harley up there. But he didn't get to do that as much on Earth. Like, my family are all bikers.
Yeah.
he didn't get to do it, but he does love it, and he's got that sort of thing going on up there too.
Yeah.
His grandmother was one of the few people in his life that was truly like a saint. The rest had been jaded, but his grandmother is with him in the spirit world, and she came to get him when he passed. Ellen, Helen, E.L. I don't know if you know his grandmother's names.
I do.
Is that name important? Do you know?
The E is correct.
Okay, like Ethel or something. How do I say it?
Evelyn is his grandmother's name.
Because you see how Evelyn is like Helen or
Yep.
Ellen?
Yep.
Because it's got that, that's the hardest name for psychics.
Yeah.
But that's his granny. But was that his mother's mom?
Yes.
Yeah, because that's who it was to get him. You understand she was very special, eh?
I do.
Yeah, she might have been more motherly in some senses to him.
Yep. I didn't know her long.
No, but you know
yeah.
that she would be there for him.
Yep.
Oh, goodness. Okay, now they're embarrassing me again on my show. Last week we had a man show up in a Speedo, and his wife goes, "Oh my God, he couldn't get out of that thing." She sent us the picture. He's doing the Dougie. Teach me how to Dougie. Teach me how to Dougie. He's showing me Justin Bieber.
His name was Doug.
Teach me how to Dougie. He's showing me. We had a boy on another episode, and he showed me Autumn Leaves, and his name was Leaf.
Oh, wow.
So they do this. They act it out because it's not like I hear the voice. They have to show me.
Yeah.
So he's doing the Dougie, but you say his name is Doug.
Yes.
He's cute. I think he's a cute. Well, he looks like he's 25 now because we go back to that. Well, that's what we are in our head, eh? Every time I look at the mirror, I'm like, what's wrong with this mirror? I look at my show, I'm like, when did Deanne get another psychic doing? What is wrong? Because you are what you really are, and age is just cells forgetting to reproduce. That's all it is.
Yeah.
So he's back to his beautiful self. Quite masculine, though.
Yep.
Did he carry some weight on him?
Yep.
Because normally they'll be trim, but he's like still got some bulk. He likes it though. That's how he likes it. It's like he's like showing me a chicken wing now. So. Did you two part?
Yes.
But was it only something like in the last 6 years or so?
It was about 7.5 years ago.
Yeah, like less than a decade. But
Yep.
even from his point of view, he might have even thought it was 6 years because you know him.
Yep.
He, in his life review, because he could sense you and go through what you went through with the separation, and he wants you to know that part of you felt like, great, you know, I gave him my best and I really tried to fix him, and then he's going to go off and give his best to someone else. And he literally said, ha, proved you wrong. Because none of us ever fix each other, even when it looks like we do. Like even when a surgeon patches you back together, you've got to do the healing.
Yep.
And he owns everything now. He takes ownership of his responsibilities in a way that he couldn't. And it's not that he was malicious, he just didn't know how. You understand that.
I do, yeah.
Because you love him.
Yep.
You saw the real him. Like he's got tears. Like I'm almost on the verge of crying, but you saw his soul when you knew him on earth. But his beautiful children, he loves them so much. You look too young to have teenagers the age I see them. Do you have like a 17-year-old or something?
I mean, no, my daughter does look older than she is.
Yeah, but he's shooting them up older than they are, though.
Oh, okay.
Because he's watching them grow. And your daughter, now, what, is she 13 now or 12?
11.
Okay. Why is she not keeping with the dance or the physical activity? Did she stop that?
She wasn't ever really in.
Because I feel like she needs to move through 3D space. She has a gift that she's not utilizing. And she stopped or didn't do it, and she needs to move through 3D space. Like, whether that's a certain kind of exercise or a certain kind of thing like dance, or a certain kind of thing like a physical training of sorts. That might come up in 2 or 3 years, mind you.
Okay.
But she's still a baby.
Yeah.
Your daughter could be a comedian. She's pretty funny. Well, because she has the no filter thing.
Yeah.
So, okay, back to Doug. So he's very, very attentive to his daughter. And
Yeah.
I don't know if you are aware of this, because I don't know how many pictures you guys take, but he's going to do orbs, or even your daughter might even see them going through her room sometimes, but that's Dad. And then you've got your boy. He's not 9. I thought they were closer in age, weren't they?
He is 9.
Oh
Yeah.
my, wow. But they are close for siblings. They're like good to each other. And I see your daughter being like, telling her brother to shut the hell up and shape up. You know, sisters make a better man. I've got 2 of them.
She does tell him that all the time.
Yeah, oh, shut up. Don't talk to Mom like that. Like she's protective of her mummy. She's a mama's girl,
Yes.
big time. And your boy is just so sweet. He's got that lovely essence that Doug had, minus the chip on the shoulder. Have you noticed that?
Yeah.
He's just such a sweet boy. Like Uncle Bro wants to just give him a hug. Such a good boy, and his daddy loves him so much. Is very proud of him. He does show me a gift that your son has that your son doesn't use as well. Your kids have untapped potentials, and your son's quite creative.
Yeah.
Has he taken an interest in art or video games?
Not video games. He's constantly creating things.
Constructively.
Yes.
But also, I'm seeing comics and superheroes and lore, like fantasy fiction, not science fiction. So that will come about mixed with this constructive creativity and this mechanical tendency with him. Your daughter will work with people somehow. She might go into a medical field, but your son is going to be sort of mechanical engineering in his own way, maybe even in a businessy way. But they have futures, your kids. You're going to have your kids. They won't. You will not outlive your kids. They're here for the long haul, because you've had young death in your life before. Other than this husband figure, there's been a friend, I think. Did you lose one parent?
Yes.
Because is that Dad as well?
Yes.
Okay, because Dad's going to come through after, but they just kicked Doug in the forefront just to, I think, for the kids.
There's a couple, actually, and I haven't quite decided who I'd like to talk to. But my father passed away over a year ago. We were pretty close growing up. I was the baby of the family and the only girl, so. But it was always, he was a pretty tough man, so, yeah. And my ex-husband passed away. My kid's father passed away in November. He was a funny guy, life of the party. In the beginning, he was a great father. It's unfortunate that drinking got to him. So.
Growing up.
Because you're not here for yourself. It's really weird. I seriously thought you brought a truckload of people. There aren't people in the car, are there?
No.
I really thought you brought a truckload, but it's that you brought a lot of spirits with you, but you're also the representative. Like what you're having here is, yes, it's for you, but it's almost you're doing it to show other people.
Yeah.
And he thanks you for this. It's like, you're always too good to him, he says. Let my mom know I'm fine. Let my mom know I'm fine, and I love her. He says, shit, bro, I did this to myself, he says. I'm tasting bitterness. Did he have a drug interaction in his system?
I don't know if he had drugs,
Because his heart stopped.
but he drank himself to death.
Yeah. Did it lead to heart complications?
We believe so.
Because the alcohol is a drug, by the way.
Well, yeah.
But I know what you thought you heard, but the alcohol is a drug.
Yeah.
And for some inexplicable reason, and my producer can tell you this because we put it on, I was on a cell phone cam with her before you showed up.
Yep.
And something had me pour a glass of wine for myself. And I was drinking wine, and she gave me a look. Deanne's like, bro. And I don't care. I just glug, glug, glug. But that's Doug, though.
Yeah.
Right? I swear these dead people will be the death of me. But so he takes ownership of that too. He says, shit, bro, I did this to myself. But he goes, tell Mom I'm fine and tell her that we don't die. I know, though, you don't miss the soul, you miss the body, eh? But he does come around her. He's been doing physical signs around her house. Like, she'll hear things. I just heard a bell, so maybe the doorbell will go off. And you'll have to ask his mom about if she's had the doorbell go when no one's home.
Yep.
But knocks too, like he's done things. Was she there?
Not when he passed, no.
Because there's some sense of not getting to say goodbye.
Yeah.
And I'm not feeding off what you said. It's like sudden, well, this is weird because he was sick leading up to it. Was she there but then not able to be there at the very end?
Kind of, yes.
Like going out for a nap or what, you know what I mean? Like wasn't right there.
She went out for the evening and he'd apparently asked her not to leave.
So she really has a sense of pain around this.
Yes.
It's an issue, but she's to let that go. He doesn't want her to hold that. They're switching. They're doing little musical chairs here with me because Dad's coming in now. You wrote about Dad too. Did you write on paper?
Yep.
Yeah. You put your dad there too, eh?
Yes.
Yeah. So, Dad's here. I don't know if he had cancer, but I'm getting all kinds of turnarounds in the body. And then I'm getting sort of not aware at the end of life. Did he die in his sleep or did he, was he medicated at the end?
No, it was very sudden though.
Oh, hold on a second. This might get overlapped because we've got some of Doug's family with us too.
Oh.
Just give me a second. Do you know who had colon or bowel cancer before they passed?
Yes.
Who's that for Doug?
Doug's dad.
So that's why the dads are getting mixed up, you see?
Yeah.
Because Doug's dad is supporting him here.
And he was about 4 years before Doug, three and a half, 4.
There we go. But Doug, they didn't mean for this to happen. It's just when they all stand close together, it overlays by accident. Yeah. So Doug, get your dad to skedaddle just for now, please, and then we'll see about her dad here. Let's see. I'm sorry, and you're Kim, right?
Yes.
Kim's dad, right? Sorry. Terrible with names.
It's okay.
I pull the names from the dead. I can't pull them from the living, though. Your dad, yeah, he's starting to step in now. Dad's been coming to you in dream states. He does visit you in dreams. Once, twice a year. It's not often, but he does come through. Go down, sweetheart. He's not linking in fully to me because he's sort of wanting this to be more for Doug. Even though your dad's more yours, more your family. Because your dad feels that the kids really need to see this in some sense. So if your dad links into me, I kind of lose my link to Doug in case he wants to say more. But it's like he's making room for your dad to say hi at least. And he wants your dad to come through, but your dad is kind of more reserved. Because, well, and the other thing too is like it's just one reading. You have more readings you can have. It's not like this is the only one ever.
Yeah.
And so different people will come through at different times depending on what's important. But is it fair to say that the husband figure that you lost is the most important reason today?
Honestly, I wasn't sure. I flip-flopped between my dad and Doug.
That's the only two I see.
Yeah.
That's the only two I see. So dad, I'm going to encourage a link with Dad. It's up to the spirits, but I'm putting my word in now. I'm going to say, let's just have him come in now. But it feels like you lost more than a dad. You lost a dad and a friend. Because I feel like you're very, very loving. I kind of feel like your dad would fix anything for me. Like take me to a shed and fix it. Maybe not well, but he would do stuff for people. He didn't suffer, your dad. He didn't suffer. Do you feel like if you were there, or if you could have gotten him to the hospital, it would be different? Because that's not true. Because whatever he had, it was massive. It was a system failure. Like I'm seeing a lights out. That's what I'm getting. Was it like a heart attack or something?
Yeah, it was very quick. And
I don't think he had the normal symptoms that men have. Like men will feel like a truck's on their chest. I actually just see him going numb and passing out.
it was very quick. His girlfriend said that he was having trouble getting into the car. They were on their way to an appointment. Mm-hmm. And by the time she got out of the driver's seat and walked around to help him get in, yep. He was dead.
Yeah, that's right. So, massive heart attack.
Yeah.
He didn't suffer. He wants you to know that. There's nothing that could have been done. Not by today's medical standards. Did your parents separate like for 14 years, or were you 14 years old?
No, I was 18 when they separated.
Okay. I'll accept that because maybe your dad just didn't remember fully.
14 to 18. Sense. Yeah, it was a while they'd been separated or divorced.
Did Dad have family history or special connection to the East Coast? Because he's taken me over to New Brunswick, Newfoundland, Nova Scotia. There's some good memories I'm hearing about. Do you recognize that?
Yep.
What's the connection there? Cottage or family history?
My mother's family's from the East Coast, and like the only family vacation we ever took was driving out east for 3 weeks.
Well, but think, he was just talking about separating from your mother.
Yeah.
And then he goes, but there were good memories, and
yeah.
It's the East Coast. So that is a message for Mom and for you. And so that's your father, and he really makes me feel like he's very different energy from Doug. He's very gentle in his energy to me. Maybe serene is a better word. And this is him like when he's at his best, because spirit people are at the best version of themselves. I feel like Dad would be able to make you stop worrying about things, whereas Doug might be the opposite.
True.
But you know the difference in energy, and you can kind of hear it in the way that I'm sitting back, I'm relaxed now.
Yeah.
And that's not an accident, that's because Dad. Is there some unresolved business about property connected to Dad that you have to deal with? Because he wants it to be known that he does want a portion to go to you or to the kids.
Okay.
It might take some time to resolve, and he's proud of you for being extremely diplomatic about it, okay? He wants you to know that. But that's as far as his intentions go. Is to have some portion of it be resolved, either because of you or to you. Both, maybe. Where is it? It seems country-esque to me.
Oro.
Oh, yeah, that's country-esque. That's where they had the tornadoes up there, eh?
Yeah.
Oro. Okay, so, yeah, that's where it'll get dealt with. And he estimates within a year.
Okay.
You didn't write about that, but he's been keeping tabs on these things, eh? Yeah. Do you have a brother?
I have two brothers.
Because one of them seems to be out to lunch. Did he not talk to Dad at all, or is he just not talking to all of you?
He was only talking to my one brother, actually. I hadn't seen my dad or talked to him in about 6 years. And then he passed. But my other brother, my oldest brother, he didn't talk to him. They had a falling out.
Yeah, because he says, "A water under the bridge. I love my boys." Is it just you and your brothers?
Yeah.
Yeah, because he says, "I love my boys." They know that I love them. Well, I don't know if you've ever put these things together, sweetheart, but can you see a pattern of unavailable men from your childhood?
Yeah.
And perhaps it's something for you to work through and heal?
Yeah.
Because you have a love in the future, you know that, eh?
I didn't, but I do now.
Yes, you do. And I'm estimating 2 years, and this is your chance to get your act together and stop putting up with shit from men who are not there. Call men on it. Hold their feet to the coals. Ask them about their past. When they say they were with a crazy person, say, why do you pick crazy people? Put it on them. Take responsibility, bucko. That's how it is, and that's what your father's message is to you. Because both these men are taking ownership now, eh?
Yep.
And you didn't cut your dad out. You just were sick of putting out olive branches and having them snapped. And your dad knows that, and he apologizes for this. Would you like to ask your questions? If you have them on you, just open them up and run through the list, and I'll see if I get any responses.
There was only 3 of them, and you've pretty much answered them, I think.
Very cool. Let's hear them in your own words. Because it's in a private reading, I wouldn't need to do it, but it's interesting on camera.
Yeah,
right?
yeah. They were for my dad.
Oh, good.
Because I was trying to figure out who, but I really couldn't. It was if he was proud of me.
Oh.
And
he is very proud of you. He wasn't good at showing anything in terms of what he thought. And I've had another one of, it's so funny how the other reading I had earlier, which is another episode, but it's these men who don't know how to communicate.
Yep.
Doug is actually pretty good at communicating. He'd just say the wrong things.
True.
Right?
Yes.
But your dad was not quite as good at opening up.
No.
And I think we had him a little bit stage shy here today. But Doug really helped warm up the connection. It was the opening act, if you could say. But your dad is very proud of you, yes. Yeah. Well, he showed up today.
Yeah. And then it was, why didn't he call me or reach out?
He didn't feel it was his right. He had a strange code of ethics that were laden with guilt.
That makes total sense, actually.
So it was like, I could hurt her, so I'll do her the favor of not having to insert myself.
Yeah.
It wasn't so much out of neglect as it was actually in a twisted way out of care. I know that sounds so bizarre, but that's what I'm getting.
It makes total sense, actually.
You know his character.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Makes total sense.
And when you have your interview after this, maybe you can explain a bit about that.
Okay.
Why that makes sense.
Yep.
So, okay, continue.
Absolutely. And the other one, is he watching over us?
Oh, yes. 100%.
Yeah.
And you know, Doug knew that your father was a little bit like this. So Doug wanted to say some of the things on behalf of your dad too, I think, with the kids.
Yeah.
And with the family, and there's this theme of ownership. Here are these men that were formative experiences in your life taking ownership finally. And let that put your heart together today.
I feel good. I feel almost calm because I was very nervous because I didn't know what to expect. So I'm very, very happy with what I heard. It was just amazing how accurate it was. To hear that they've taken responsibility and that it wasn't really anything I did, because I did hold a lot of guilt. I've always wanted to tell my dad that I loved him, because that wasn't much, like we didn't really say that. When Brough said about my dad not really being one to show his emotions or say what he was feeling, it was so accurate. That was my dad. The only emotion he ever really showed was anger. So I kind of always knew he loved me, but he never really said it. So yeah, it was nice to hear that. It was freaky how accurate it was.
Well, so I just did Kim's reading, and what a ride. You know, before, of course, she got here, I was sensing multiple people. I thought she was actually coming with a truckload of people, but as it turned out, they were dead people who came with her, so I didn't have to worry about extra chairs, I guess. But yeah, what was interesting to me was, even though she seemed to be more focused on her father, having lost her ex-husband so recently and having kids with him seemed to tilt the reading toward him. And even in the reading I was a little confused, like, why am I not getting her dad as much? And of course, when we found out that her father sort of had a way of being absent in her life when he was alive, I almost interpret it like he was showing his respect to her and not trying to take too much time from his own grandchildren who need to hear from their father when they watch back the tape. So these kinds of interesting dynamics and phenomena occur when I do these readings, and I'm always learning something new.